have the very bottom. Okay, so we have the elite, then we have the I don't know, geographically privileged, or the inherited wealth. We have the scions of law that have entrenched themselves in the prosecutor's office, determining who. This is the crazy part about the Murdaugh family. They, for 100 years, determined who would get prosecuted in not just this little burb that they live in, but for a 3,200-mile radius. They were in charge of, being the prosecutors of people who lived in that particular part of South Carolina. Now, their son didn't get prosecuted, even though he was drunk driving a boat, right? We know this. The idea that this maid shows up dead, and that he's able to go to court and get a recovery, get a damage recovery to the tune of $4 million plus, and keep it for himself, and he's out free. Okay, I just explaining to you. Then you have the very bottom of our society. These are the most vulnerable people in our society. These are people who have no representation, no voice, no authority, no legitimacy, no, even in the eyes of the law. These are the people that can be completely and totally used and abused and spit out and thrown away. And those are immigrant children, okay? Those are the lowest form of life in America. And we know this because we have the Department of Homeland Security currently looking into the QAnon and all this with their child trafficking. They think it's all sex. Well, if it's sexual human trafficking you're looking for, look no further than Russia, because most of it happens over there in Russia, shipping people here. But for the kids, there seems to be, last month, the Labor Department, okay, found that one sort of, I'll characterize them as an employment agency. I mean, I don't know how else to characterize them. They're called PSSI, okay? Packers Sanitation Services. Now, there is a giant investigation going on right now because they found that this company, PSSI, Packers Sanitation Services, Inc., employed 102 children at 13 slaughterhouses in 8 states. Now, when you want to talk about, abuse of children and stuff like that, the red hat wearing MAGA crowd, the, Make America Great Again crowd, they always think about, their children, right? That's what they're thinking about, their children, or they're not thinking about Russia, that's for sure. But here you have an American company, okay, that has abused 102 children so far that we know of in 13 slaughterhouses across 8 states, multiple states, okay, 8 states, human smuggling. And listen, I tell you, priests don't even have this kind of a success rate in abuse. You know what I'm saying? It's so unbelievable. But the very, 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 very poor child, they're literally being trafficked. The DHS security investigation is investigating now how they ended up working for PSSI, and was it a human trafficking scheme? Because they said, that somebody has to be smuggling these kids to this company, right? And this company, just so you know, isn't on the hook for anything. Yeah. They're not on the hook for anything. They're trying to, the Department of Homeland Security is more concerned with finding the people who are smuggling these kids, the human trafficking ring. But I don't see anything in any of the stories I read where this company is going to face any sort of criminal investigation of any sort, right? The company said, Gina Swenson, she is the company spokesperson, she said she's not been contacted by law enforcement and has no knowledge of any investigation like this. She said, quote, "We've always taken rigorous steps to comply with the law, including using the government's E-Verify system for new hires, extensive training for all hiring managers, multiple audits, and the use of biometrics." How could that be true? And then you end up with 102 known minors. And in fact, so far we know that one known minor was hired twice by this company using two different names in the span of 6 months. Now, one of the managers was interviewed and he said, I don't know where it is, but he said that that all they would do is, like, when they would find out, they would just say, okay, you terminate the kid, but nothing else happened. So okay. And then you have everybody else, right? So you got the very top, you got the Trumps, the Kushners, the Rupert Murdochs, then you got the Murdoch family, who are geographically situated in a position of power and privilege. Then you got the poorest of the poor, the most vulnerable, who are being trafficked by American companies to clean up. And it's a really sick, twisted job. Okay, so we know that there's a large immigrant population that cuts the meat. We found this out during COVID. Remember how shocked and appalled we were when we found out that during COVID, immigrants were actually cutting our meat, and that the best that the companies could do was to put dividers between the workers who were working really close, tightly together on a conveyor belt with very sharp knives. Very sharp knives. Okay, so now we're finding out that children who are 12 years old, 13 years old, they're going to school during the day, and then at night, they're working in these slaughterhouses doing the cleanup. And we're talking about walking through body part, animal, but we're talking about walking through body parts. We're talking about being covered head to toe in animal blood, okay? I mean, it couldn't get uglier, than that. It just couldn't. But then you have the rest of us, okay? The people in the middle who are just trying to, work and get treated fairly. And then, you find out that you're up against it too. Slightly better situated than a migrant child, which is just so disgusting. But then, we're slightly better situated, meaning a administrative law judge yesterday wrote this scathing opinion about Starbucks, the coffee people, okay? Howard Schultz, he was running for president. Remember Howard Schultz? Yeah, he wanted to be president. The administrative law judge wrote a 14-page missive, okay, that has to now be hung up in Starbucks stores, telling workers what their rights are and admitting that Starbucks didn't enforce their rights, actually violated their rights as workers. Why? This is what it says. Starbucks committed egregious and widespread violations of federal labor law while trying to stop union campaigns, the organization of unions in Starbucks stores, right? And so the administrative law judge ordered that Starbucks has to reopen some of the stores they closed, reimburse back pay damages to the employees who were trying to organize a union at the company. The judge, Michael Rosas, wrote, it was a 220-page order, okay, released on yesterday. He wrote, Starbucks showed a general disregard for the employees' fundamental rights. It was 33 unfair labor practices, charges from 21 stores, all in the Buffalo area. And what the judge found was that Starbucks retaliated against employees as they started their union drive back in 2021. And then Howard Schultz actually started closing the stores, to intimidate the employees, saying, oh, yeah, you don't want to work for, what I want you to work for. And just with closed doors, or he would separate employees to divide and conquer their organizing abilities and put, or he would overstaff the store to show them how disposable they were. He would say to them, I will give you a raise if you denounce joining a union. I will give you more benefits if you denounce joining a union. I will not hire any employee who backs a union. I will relocate any union organizers to new stores to stop the organizing activity. And I will retaliate against employees for unionizing. And the judge found that all of that happened and ordered that he pay damages and reopen his stores, and then to post a 14-page notice that explains to the workers their rights and how the company violated the law. So you have the very elite, you've got the entrenched, you've got the low, and then you've got us. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.